So a couple of weeks later, after you saw the Incredible Hulk TV pilot, you could go to the theaters and you could see this movie, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Spielberg's just off the success of Jaws. Can you imagine a better back-to-back kind of pairing of movies that you make?
I thought my dad was going to turn into a mountain of mashed potatoes.
Right. This is back when Spielberg, like, he was a director, right? Like, he has a very different sort of role now and a very different sort of public perception, but he was a movie maker behind the camera here, and I love the hopeful vision that this has for First Contact.
Absolutely. It's one of the most beautifully directed of all his movies. Shot after shot after shot, just iconic and wonderful. From the people all pointing at the sky at once to the light bathing through the door. But yeah, you mentioned it's a friendly First Contact. There are scary moments throughout this movie.
People do get kidnapped.
Yeah.
Let's not gloss over that.
But there's like,
and that kid is freaky.
Yeah, there's a lot of scary moments. You'll be like, oh, and this is right off of Jaws. And you're like, oh my, what's going to happen? And then just when you think it's getting too frightening, there'll be a little whimsical, little tiny aliens like. Oh, he's happy.
Well, I think it's really amazing, too, that the mindset of the time, right? Voyager as well was really this hopeful way to look at contacting alien life. And then we have this film that had obviously been in production for a long time, but it just kind of goes to that at the time, trying the melding of cultures and really thinking as globally and universally, right?
I also,
really reflection.
One little note on this I would add is that, Francois Truffaut, one of the founders of the French New Wave, is in the movie as an actor playing the scientist guy in the main thing. And it's amazing that you have this sort of quintessential young Hollywood director making this great American Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
And you've got one of the founders of the French New Wave in a leading role. It's just...
This movie is also responsible for an entire generation of children making little mountains out of mashed potatoes. Which is what I did as a kid after I watched it.
So I don't want to neglect the role that Douglas Turnbull played in this movie as well, because he had turned down Star Wars. He's the effects supervisor for this movie. He'd actually said, I don't want to work on Star Wars, did this instead. I actually think turned in an amazing performance as sort of the effects director here. Went on to work on Blade Runner, Star Trek, the motion picture, but I love this ship right here. I mean, it's just such a beautiful, beautiful image. And the weightlessness of Richard Dreyfuss and the cab of his truck. Like, there's just so many great, iconic special effects moments for me.
And also everything, the fact that so much of it, again, practical models, that would not have the impact, the resonance, if it was digital.
And a wonderful sense of color throughout this movie. So much use of light and color in brilliant ways.
Somebody who did work on both movies was John Williams, though.
Yeah,
77, the year of John Williams.
I mean, both Williams and Spielberg, think about that swath of time there, and that this is like your golden period. It's like, Hitchcock from basically the late 40s, early 50s through like, the mid 60s. Like, that was your time,
Absolutely. And also, this is notable because Spielberg wanted to do a different cut of the movie very shortly after it was released. And the studio said, we'll do it, but only if you show the inside of the spaceship. And he took that as a compromise and said he regretted it afterwards. But it began sort of, or maybe popularized, this notion of famous directors being unhappy with the works that they made.